The red onions are beautiful this year. And so we looked at a couple of recipes. I'm going to see if that'll focus. Yeah, so this is a salsa we're going to try. And then we're just going to try a typical red onion pickle. So for us, the best way to thinly slice an onion is with the mandolin. So we'll thinly slice our onions to start. You're always lucky if you end up with all your onions on the plate. Yeah, that'll be great. And I think that we'll just chop them in half. So just for the typical onion pickle, it's just the sliced onions with the water and vinegar, salt and a little bit of sugar. That is going to be a tight fit. And one of the recommendations I saw online was to put a bit of black peppercorns or whatever peppercorns you have, add them to the jar. To me, that seemed like a great idea. So we're going to try that. And then it takes a day, probably, or maybe the afternoon, for this to really become pickled. You pickle them in the fridge. They're just good for a couple of weeks. In the other recipe, we also need, that's the salsa. We'll need the onion. It escaped. For the recipe, they say fresh pineapple, but we had a can of pineapple in the cupboard, so it's going to be a can of pineapple. So it's the onions, pineapple. Oh, you know, we're going to use a bigger bowl. And this is a salsa, which to me looks a bit like a chutney. Peppers, pineapple, onion, mint, and a little bit of chili flakes. And we'll stir it up and try it, I think, just with some chicken.